let's have an engaging conversation. So how many of you want to be happy? I know if you're awake or not. If you don't put your hands up, that means you're not awake. How many of you want to be happy? Okay, there are still people at the back who don't want to be happy. All right. So, let's start with this. One is that if you really want to be happy, and through my research, what I've found is that you have to focus on a concept called whole being, where your holistic well-being has to be addressed if you're really hoping to achieve happiness. And with this panel over here, I think that's where we're trying to get to, which is how do we get to a holistic well-being and kind of really reach that state of what I call contented aliveness. I think if you can get there, that is truly on the path to happiness. So I'm going to start quickly with Sridevi. One of the big issues that we see with women is that they're pulled in several directions and sometimes stretched too thin. So how do they learn to prioritize themselves with respect to nutrition and fitness?
Most important question. Thanks for inviting me to be part of She Team here and see us. And coming to that question, well, women are superwomen, right? We can do it all. We can do it all, but most of the time we do not prioritize ourselves. And in my work, I see over and over again women coming with health problems purely due to negligence of their health, and they take care of everyone around them and not themselves. What I tell them is, unless you are strong, you can't do anything to anyone. So prioritizing, it's in our society, if you take care of yourself, it's almost, you feel guilty to be taking care of yourself, to prioritize yourself. We need to take care of others and then take care of ourselves. That's how we are trained. And to allot time for yourself, to make something different for yourself. It's almost like you have to be guilty and you have to make excuses to take care of yourself. So I think that is changing slowly. Prioritizing yourself is much needed, and I think once they realize that without their own good health they can't serve their family, I think they'll be all right. So that's what we teach and preach every day, that you come first. You come first, and that's how you teach your children also to treat themselves well and prioritize.
I'm going to follow that up to the other question, which is that most of us, despite having good intentions, are not able to stick to our good, healthy eating habits, and our cravings invariably catch up, and we kind of suck up. So what's your advice to those kind of people?
We all want to eat healthy, we all want to enjoy food, but then that enjoyment follows with a bout of guilt. So I think there's too much of knowledge on food. I think unlearning is the key right now. There is what is good nutrition, what is good food anyway. So I think going back to simplify, because there's just way too much of knowledge and information on nutrition and food that we're all confused, to be honest. So how do we know what is good nutrition, what is good for us? It is what our ancestors ate, and it is what we like, what makes us satisfied, what makes us happy, what doesn't follow with guilt, and how are we supposed to know that that is good enough for us, right? It would be easy for me to say, hey, listen, forget about all these diets and all these superfoods and all kinds of fasting and no fasting and all of that. Just eat like your ancestors. But our taste buds have developed. We like all kinds of different foods, and there's so much of food around, and there's so much of choices. Like how do we know that that is good? Both. One is we have too much choice. How do we know how to choose? And how do we know that what our ancestors ate is good enough for us today? So, one, what our ancestors ate may not be good enough for us, and we have to pay extra attention and add things to it because our soil quality is not the same and food processing is not the same, and now our nutritional requirements are more because we are exposed to a lot of stress and environmental pollution and all that kind of stuff. So we do need more nutrition, so we have to pay attention, and for that reason we have to take care of our gut health and eat foods that are natural. That is the key here. You need to eat foods that are natural. And how do you know that what you're eating is sufficient? Is you can feel that you don't need a mid-afternoon picker-upper, and you can wake up with good energy. And how do you satisfy your taste buds? Learn to cook, not leave your cooking, not leave your food requirements to others. We need to get in the kitchen. A lot of us, men, women, we stop cooking. We rely on help, and we also order in. So I think it's important that we learn to cook a little bit, so that we question the ingredients that come into the kitchen and how they grown, etc. And follow the traditional methods in cooking that would retain most amount of nutrition, like fermentation. I mean, this is a small amount of time to go into the ways of preserving nutrients and make your food even more nutritious. But do follow my YouTube videos. I put out a lot of videos on easy to make, deliciously healthy cooking. So I hope I answered your question.
All right, I'll move on to Tanya now. Tanya, you have such a fascinating story. Just tell us your story.
Thank you, Pratyusha and SCSC for inviting me first of all. And happy Women's Day to each and every woman out here. And all the men who always support women. But I don't think so any woman over here who needs support from the men. So I guess men need support from the women. So coming to my story, we always say that sky is the limit. I completely agree, and there is no doubt on that statement also. But also, when you have something to lose, you always doubt on yourself. Okay, can I do this? Can I not do this? But when you lost everything in your life, you don't have anything to lose that time, because you don't have anything to lose after that. And the same thing happened with me when I was doing my masters and I lost my leg in an accident. There was a time I was completely broken, made financial, made emotional, physical, no support from anyone. And I remember my dad spent around 80 lakhs on my treatment. So I can't go and ask my dad, can I go for sports rather to pursue? Can I go for sports rather to continue in academics and earn money on them? Because you can't go and ask, like he spent his entire life long savings. So there was not a question. And all my childhood friends who next day become a stranger, they're like, we don't know you. They stop picking up my calls. I used to cry that time and I was like, what is this? What's wrong with people around me? But slowly and gradually I realized that this is how it is. You can't go back and change anyone. You can't change the things around. And that time I have realized I have to do something which can make me feel realized and not an empty. Before I realized anyone, I have to feel myself that I'm a physically not a challenge. It's just a mental barrier. So I start keeping the things which I can't do. I start writing the things. So be it a solo traveling, be it a cycling, be it anything, be it a cooking, be it cleaning, everything. So today I do everything by my own. I don't stay with my family. They keep calling me, why don't you come to home? I'm like, no, I'm here, I'm doing everything by my own. So my life changed after 2019.
Tell us a little bit more about your journey from Kashmir to Kanyakumari.
If you talk about cycling, so genuinely cycling was something which I never even thought of pursuing. Being a corporate, I always wanted to go and earn money, just full of balance, everything. I wanted to live a luxurious life. But during the hospital bed, I realized this is not a life. This is just, we are fascinated by the society and the lifestyle people are showing. So every day, I remember I was on a ventilator for a week and doctor thrice made a statement that we can't save this girl. around 45 units of blood, 9 surgeries back to back, and we often ask a friend, okay, can you, let's go for a coffee or a tea. They used to tell me, okay, tomorrow we have your surgery. That's how the surgery was planned for me. So I have realized now what the things are. So I was like, I can't go back and do something again a normal day. I have to change that mental barrier for myself and the people who always comment on my family that now she is a burden to you and the entire family. So then cycling come into the picture because all the women sitting over here, they know how our growing area is. And when I had an accident, half of that growing was stitches. The doctors are not ready to take my treatment. And sitting on a cycling saddle was extremely hard because they had to made up of cardio. I used to bleed that time. That was completely full of pain. There was a complete pus formation. It was not even advisable to do. But I've been through a lot of things. I was like, I don't want to go back again and listen what people are commenting on me. I was like, now I come. I want to fight this battle. I want to do something. And then also I have realized when you have a right leader around you, they know what is their strength and what is their weakness, and they know how to play around. And I was very fortunate that I made my coach, and it just happened. I never planned over there, and he entered into my life. He planned everything. He was like, okay, this is this, this is this. I just follow him, listen blindly, and then Kashmir to Kanyakumari thing happened after that.
Great. Such a wonderful story. We'll move on to Ram. Please, a round of applause, please. So, before we move on to Ram, how many of you have written down personal goals for 2023? Okay, maybe 5%, 10%. Okay, on that note, I will, move to Ram. So, what do you think are the biggest challenges for women and money?
I think the biggest challenge is that there's this stereotype that women are not good at managing money, which is absolutely false. If you look at some of the women leaders in the financial services industry in India, starting from the SEBI chairperson today, Madhavi Buch, some of the CEOs of banks like Axis Bank, ICICI Bank, insurance companies like ICICI Prudential, they're all women. So it's absolutely a bunkum that women cannot manage money. We all see that women in their own households are extremely good at managing the household budget. However, having said that, in general, there is a mental block that many women have, that men have to lead the financial affairs of the home. I think that is one block which is a challenge in general. The other challenges are largely common to people, whether it is men or women, which is the lack of awareness of what are the basics of finance, right? Whom should you trust for financial advice? Unfortunately, most people are held hostage to the people who talk to them about finance. So it could be the nearby neighborhood bank. It could be the house relative in the home who manages, let's say, insurance policies. So what people don't understand is whom to trust for advice. So the first thing to ask is, why is this person giving me free advice? What is in it for them? As a result, what people do is they end up putting most of their money in insurance policies which yield very low return, 4 to 5%. They don't understand the basics of how much insurance do you need, when do you need it. And the early start is denied to them. So by the time they realize, right, it could be mid-30s and it's too late. So what I would wish for women is to first of all take charge of their financial matters, understand how money grows, how it compounds, whom to trust for advice, who is an advisor, who is a broker, who is an agent, what is in it for them, and question, okay, why am I being sold this product, okay, what are the alternatives, and start learning about finance in a simple way. Unfortunately, the other challenge that I see of late is that there are these finfluencers on YouTube and other social media who give a lot of free advice. Again, one has to question, why is this person giving free advice? What is in it for them? What are they advertising? Okay, how are they making money? And you have to literally take it in your own hands or go for a professional who's a registered advisor if you really want to, make sure that you manage your money in a very objective manner.
Okay, I'll continue on that and say, if you were to leave the audience with 3 practical tips
Yes.
on something that they can go back and implement, what would those be?
So I would say one is take an assessment, self-assessment. There are many free tools out there in terms of where you stand in financial wellness. 2 is what you just said, which is what are your financial goals. So you need to make sure that those goals are written down. The goal could be as simple as, put your child through college. It could be 10 lakhs in 5 years, or it could be like Swaraj was saying, a 2.5 crore, for a US education, or whatever it is. So regardless of your financial status, it's very important to document the goal and ensure that there is a plan for it. And the third thing is to, once you figure out the plan, make sure that you have a steady investment plan towards those goals. Make sure that your existing assets are all mapped to that goal. And just let it run as early as possible, right? There is this whole very simple calculation, right? If a person starts at age 25 versus age 35, and they just do, let's say, 10,000 rupees per month, the difference in the corpus when they retire is 5 to 6 times more, right? So the person who starts late makes far lesser money than one who starts early. So the practical tips are: get your goals lined up, invest in the right instruments, and most importantly, just hasten to add here, ensure that your assets are allocated into the right buckets. How much is required for liquidity, which is your regular income? How much is required for safety, which is the next few years of goals? And then how much is required for growth? What I see most often, the common mistake people do is that bulk of their assets are either stuck in liquidity or safety, right? So real estate is fine, but if you have 90% of your assets in real estate and they're not liquid, it could end you in a bad situation.
Got it. All right, we'll move back to Sridevi. Many women prioritize looking good over feeling good. What is your advice to them? And we see that, right?
I
If there is a
disagree
wedding
with
that's
you.
coming up and people are, trying hard, and after that it's all, over the top. So
Men do that too, Yeah. So, right. So I think, how can you, feeling good is a lot more beautiful than anything superficial. So I think feeling good comes from having a good balance inside, good digestion. I know this is crazy, right? Good digestion, good elimination. Your system inside has to be working well to feel beautiful. And when you feel beautiful, you look beautiful, you radiate that energy. So I think that's most beautiful than anything one can wear or anything one can put on, right? So I think that comes from having good lifestyles, which in my understanding and my profession, diet, what we eat, diet is such a bad word, such a negative word, like something restrictive. Food, the deliciously healthy food, that comes to 80% of our, what we need to be happy. And the rest is your, meditation, walk, connect with nature, and having good financial, wellness, and having good mental strength, all of that. So that, I think, gives you, when you do good, you feel good. When you eat good, when you take care of yourself, you feel good. So I think it's all about self-love. I think that's what looks beautiful. I think you see that over and over again. People say, oh, when somebody's happy, they radiate that energy, and that is most beautiful than any makeup or any kind of clothing and all of that.
So when you feel good, it shows, basically.
Yes.
Okay, what's your take on intermittent fasting, the right and wrong of it?
I think intermittent fasting is fantastic for many reasons. For the obvious reason that you're restricted to eating for only a certain amount of time in the day. So it's really good that way. But one thing to remember while intermittent fasting is that you balance you get most nutritious food at times that you're eating. So that is important, but intermittent fasting is shown over and over again that it's very, very healthy. It gives your digestive system a much needed break because each kind of food that we eat take certain amount of time to digest. If you keep on eating, you are not digesting fully the previous meal, and it'll make your digestive system sluggish, and you can get colon buildup over the time, and that can cause problems. So it's best that you eat, only for a few hours in the day and let your body work. And if you notice, a lot of people think, oh, if I don't eat and work out, then will I get energy? You have plenty sources of energy. You have reserves of energy, so you don't have to eat and work out. A lot of people come to me and say, I want to do intermittent fasting, but I go to the gym in the morning, or I'll go for a walk or yoga. What do? No worries at all. Do intermittent fasting, and it does wonders.
One last one to you, which is that, can you talk us through your non-profit, which is the Deliciously Healthy Foundation?
Yes, so Vibrant Living has been in business for the last 10 years, and I've done a lot of work as a business, but I also did several TV shows to teach people on what is good eating and all. But then lately, last few years, I've been feeling, after Corona especially, that we need to reach out to the underprivileged. I felt like my work was only being reached to, certain groups. So we started a Deliciously Healthy Foundation where we go to Anganwadi schools and we go to remote areas and teach them. One thing triggered is that I went to Hyderabad, one tribal village called Gundala. In the middle of the day, I saw a young girl just wandering around in the village. I asked her, why did you not go to school today? She goes, I actually go to college, but I didn't go to college today because I keep fainting. She has anemia, and so many girls have anemia. Okay, and it's not because they have no food, it's because they have no knowledge on what food is right for them. They go walking miles to get a pack of chips or biscuits when they have loads of nutritious greens in their backyard that they used to eat but had forgotten to eat now. And there is no reason when they have mawa growing in their neighborhood and when they have lots of legumes growing that they have anemia. That's because there's no awareness, no knowledge. So took up that on us and started this foundation. And I go wherever I get invited to educate people on simple rules on how to nourish ourselves. Because we are thinking it's such a complicated thing, there's so much to learn and it's so confusing, but it is not confusing. It is quite simple, we just make it complicated. So I try to help people to demystify this nutrition part of what we do every day. So Deliciously Healthy is everybody's right, independent of their financial condition. It's everybody's right to have deliciously healthy food daily. It doesn't have to be expensive at all. So that's what we do.
Thank you for doing that. Who want to die among us have these unfulfilled dreams, and we feel that it's either too late or too tough or we can't do
Another thing, and I have to give up on my dreams or many things. But it's always what is meant to be, it's always yours. No one can take away from you. Even my fracture or a ligament tear surgery, I was playing table tennis and I had a fall. And I won that match, but next day I was on ICU for the surgery. Or be it an accident where I lost my leg, but I finished Kashmir to Kanyakumari. Or be it firing my own dad's body and where I was extremely close to him, or be it saying no to cycling, and be it seeing someone else watching in front of you getting the gold medal. So I agree, like most of the time you have to say, okay, it's okay, I can't do this, I can't do that. But are you actually determined to do that? How far you have been through for that particular one thing? I must say, if anyone have been through at my place, they would have better go back to home, stay with the family, because losing a father is not something anyone can take it. But I was so dedicated towards cycling that I even lost, I was like, say no to my jobs. I got a very good job offer from Oman. Everyone was like, why did you go for that? I was like, no, I choose cycling first, and no matter what, I won't give up on this. I tried extremely hard. So life might show you certain challenges or even throw you stones, everything, but that's the time when you have to show how determined you are towards your goal and how far you can go to achieve that particular goal. Because people will come, and also there is a saying, at the age of 40 or 50, if someone wants to start their career into something, they will like what the society will talk, what the people will say. There's again a saying on that, if I'll always think about those people, so what they will think. So again, do what makes you happy, because that is your life.
Thank you. So, how should one prepare for emergencies?
I'll give only 3 tips for emergencies. So one is obviously have an emergency fund. Emergency fund is what you need when something unknown hits you. So it could be as simple as 6 months of expenses or 1 year of expenses. That is number 1. Number 2 is make sure you have enough term life insurance. People, I must have reviewed thousands of financial plans in the last 7 years that I've been in the wealth management space. There's an over-reliance on insurance plans, assuming they are investments. So as a result, I've seen people have very large insurance policies that pay lakhs of rupees premium, but the cover is very less. So please, the only insurance policy that you'll ever need is a term life policy. Don't buy any policy which promises returns. I have a lot of math which says that most insurance policies tend to give, which masquerade as investments, they give only 4 to 5% per annum return, whereas the Nifty index has given about 14 to 15% in the last 10, 15, 20 years. And that difference runs into crores. If the same money had gone into, let's say, just the Nifty index fund versus buying this insurance policy, it would have run into crores. Now you will get confused. Somebody will say, term, there's a benefit. That benefit is actually worth, the cost of that benefit is just a few thousand rupees. So for a normal healthy person, a 1 crore premium, the premium for a 1 crore term policy is just 8, 9, 10, 12,000 rupees. Okay. That is the fundamental thing that one should understand. Whereas the typical premium that you pay for a similar cover in a money back policy is much, much higher. So first thing I talked about emergency fund. Why do you need an emergency fund? So that when an emergency hits, like in Tanya's case, she said, right, life, she had certain plans, but something else came her way. The emergency fund is extremely important. 6 to 12 months or more, depending on the risk profile, right? If you have a higher risk profile, you need a higher emergency fund. Second is a term life policy. Third is a health policy. A lot of corporates here, I'm sure in the audience, will have companies which are large and they provide a health cover. Please make sure you have a second health cover also. So why do you need a second health cover? Because in case you lose your job or when you retire, the second cover really, really helps you because you can continue, right? It's almost impossible to take a health policy after 70. So better you have one running as early as possible. Premiums go up after 45. Just take a simple, even a 5 lakh rupee cover, and then over time build your no claim history there, and if required buy a super top up policy. So in terms of emergencies, these are the 3 things that I'm talking about. which is emergency fund, a simple term policy, which is the most cost efficient, and third is a health cover.
Got it. So as we wrap up, leaving messages from, all of you in a few words. We'll start with you, Ram. So just reverse the order.
So we talked about emergencies. The other tip I want to give everybody here is, remember the three acronym L, S and G: liquidity, safety and growth. Map all your investments to LSG and make sure that it's a stool which is well balanced, right? One leg cannot be too long, then it won't be balanced. You will slip off it. So LSG, liquidity, safety and growth. Within that, make sure that you have a good asset allocation. I'm not talking about portfolio, PMS and advanced strategies here, which I do for many of my clients who are CEOs, etc. All I'm talking about is asset allocation could start for somebody just starting. It could start from as simple as a PPF policy, PPF investment, moving on to an index fund. An index fund gives very good long-term returns. It is the cheapest. And then if you have appetite, you can get into more advanced strategies. Avoid free advice peddlers. Don't trust them. And don't go for exotic investments like crypto, etc. Don't be over-concentrated on any one particular asset class like real estate. You should have a well-balanced thing. Many of my clients who have, let's say, ESOPs, when you take Infosys, many of the senior management, we work with them, and they tend to be over-concentrated in one stock. So my advice is, please de-risk. So other things can start later, but basics are, have your emergencies covered, have LSG in place, have asset allocation with very simple instruments like a PPF and an index fund, and then you see magic happen. Start early. This is what I tell, we work with some of the large corporates here. We do corporate financial wellness programs for companies with lakhs of employees. What we tell them is, start simple, start early. The earlier you start, compounding is called as the 8th wonder of the world.
Thank you, Ram. Tanya, closing comments from you.
When it comes to mental statement or mental health, I always felt we should not let anyone else define our life, no matter how, no matter what. Because at the end of the day, we are only going to die and no one is going to help us. Okay, I'll also die with you. So we will be the only on our graveyard. So no matter what, we have to choose what we have to do, what we want to do. Even if it is a career, if it is a personal life, professional life, health, even in financial. Because when it comes to rural side, most of the women are not allowed to do jobs. But how far you are want to do, so that is again your take. And because just be yourself, do what you want to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Sridevi.
So nourishing yourself is not difficult. Food and nutrition is not a rocket science. Don't get intimidated, and don't feel like you have no control over your appetite or your cravings, because when you start eating nutritionally balanced meals, your cravings will magically go. It's crazy, your body is craving either because it's nutritionally deficient in some nutrients, or that you're emotionally not stable. So work on the body and mind simultaneously, and believe me, it's a lot easier than what we believe. So just put some time into it, because I think it's most important that we eat well. So to allot time to procuring food, spending some time planning on food is well worth it. A lot of times we think, we don't put enough time into making food or thinking about. Sometimes it's even discouraged in the families, tindipot antaru, that and this, but it's really important that you spend some time, learn, get that skill. It's going to teach your children. I teach, even in the summer I have regular workshops at Vibrant Living. Do check out and follow me on Instagram for daily motivation. Whenever I can, I put all kinds of colorful food that is easy to make. So I call that deliciously healthy. Okay, so it doesn't, because healthy food, a lot of people believe that it's boring. So I show that it's never boring and it's really exciting and yummy, and that makes you happy, and get close to nature and spend some time in the nature. That also will help you absorb the nutrients that you are eating.
Thank you so much. I want to thank the audience for staying back. I know it's late. I wanted to leave you with this message that you have to focus on your holistic well-being, pay attention to all dimensions of your life. They're equally important. And with Tanya's story, we know that anyone can achieve anything in life if you put your mind and heart to it. All the very best to all of you. Thank you so much.